Okay, I would like to call this meeting to order. And I'd like to welcome everyone who's here. Dr. Mayberry, to your right is a young lady in the blue. Does she know how to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Very good. Please come up to the podium.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job.
Thank you very much. I'd like a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
So moved. Mr. President, I have an amendment.
Dr. Manning?
Thank you, Mr. President. On item 19.3, we are requesting that bid package number 21 be removed. So when the board votes on that, if this amendment is accepted, then bid package 21 would be deleted.
Very good. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Have a report out of closed session. Stand by. The Board of Education at its meeting of June 18, 2018 in closed session voted unanimously to rescind the release notice served to certificated employee case number 05-17/18 prior to March 15, 2018, and accept the employee's resignation letter effective at the conclusion of the 2017-2018 school year. That was unanimously voted on. Okay. All right, moving on to staff presentation information.
Mr. President, you've got new employees.
I do that now.
Yes. Yes.
You'd think this was my first meeting. Board of Education in closed session voted unanimously to approve the following administrative appointments effective July 1, 2018. Are these people here, or do I just? They are, so I'll read them one at a time. Very good. We'll start with Crystal Alcala, Assistant Principal, Special Education. Crystal served as an assistant principal at Richardson Middle School since August of 2016. She previously served as a special education teacher at Fern Elementary School from September 2006 to June 2016. She also served as a teacher on special assignment for the following: Jumpstart Summer School 2016, Richardson Middle School from November 15th through May 2016, and Burt Lynn Middle School from November 2014 to February 2015. She served as a lead teacher at Launch Preschool in July of 2013 and July of 2014, and at Fern Elementary in July 2012. Crystal received her Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies from Loyola Marymount University in May of 2005, a Master of Arts in Special Education from Loyola Marymount University in May of 2008, and her Master of Arts in Education Administration from Concordia University in May of 2014. We'd like to welcome and congratulate you, Crystal.
Thank you. Just want to say thank you. I'm excited to officially join the special education department. I'm sad to no longer be a rattlesnake officially, but I'll always be a rattlesnake at heart. So thank you so much for this opportunity, and looking forward to a successful school year.
Very good. Again, thank you and welcome. Michael Reemlin. Michael Raymond will be the principal of Fern Elementary School. Michael comes to us from a Bellflower Unified School District where he served as an elementary principal in the Intensive Learning Center in Lakewood, California since 2016. He previously served as an elementary principal in the same district at Craig Williams Elementary School from 2014 to 2016, elementary principal in the Lenox Unified School District at Moffett Elementary School for the 2013-2014 school year, and middle school assistant principal in the Whittier Unified School District at Granada Middle School from 2011 to 2013. Michael received his Bachelor of Arts from Westmount College in Santa Barbara in May of 1995, his Master of Arts from California State University, Fullerton in May of 1997, and his doctorate at the University of Southern California in May of 2012. We'd like to welcome you, Michael.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a privilege to be here in Torrance. I'm looking forward to serving the Fern family, community, students, and I just want to take a minute and I want to introduce my awesome family. My lovely wife Bethany's here, and my two daughters, Claire and Sarah. So thank you so much for having me.
Very good. And you're just more proof we can't have too many doctorates from USC.
That's right. He's taking them all out to dinner after this.
His family, not all of us. Paul Nataki, Assistant Principal, Torrance High School. Paul served as a math and science teacher at Torrance High School since September 2008. He also served as a high school boys varsity basketball head coach since 2011. In addition, some of his leadership experience includes TUSD presenter at the Northern and Southern California Next Generation Science Standards High School Summits, TUSD Physical Science of the Earth Space Science Curriculum Development Leadership Team member, attended the California Science Education and College Board AP Chemistry Conferences, awarded an ExxonMobil STEM Award and ExxonMobil Pegasus Grant, and created the new Torrance High School website. He received his Bachelor of Science in Physical Science, Chemistry at the University of California, Irvine in 2007, and his Master of Arts in Education at California State University Dominguez Hills in 2014. We'd like to congratulate and welcome you, Paul.
I'd first like to thank the school board, and as well as Dr. Mannon, Dr. Stowe, and the entire district cabinet. Thank you guys so much for this opportunity. I'd like to thank my principal, Kareem Gurgis, Torrance High School. He was the 2018 Golden Apple Award winner, but I'm very proud of his leadership and his inspiration on campus. But I'd also like to thank my family, my parents, and my brother who are here. Not everybody could make it, but they're the reason I am who I am today. And so just a little bit about me. My whole family, we grew up here in Torrance. All my siblings are born and raised here. We all went to school in this school system. We are all successful products of TUSD. And it's an honor and privilege to have this opportunity to serve the students, the teachers, the faculty, and our administration. And I look forward to this next chapter at Torrance High School, where we have some of the brightest students, some of the most hardworking teachers, dedicated staff, and administration. So thank you again for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Maroon and gray. Notice what he's wearing.
I saw that.
Yes.
As
Good
long
move.
as long as he understands he's working for Kareem, it's not a problem. Ellen Harrison, Assistant Principal, Richardson Middle School. Ellen comes to us from the Los Angeles Unified School District, where she served as the International Baccalaureate Coordinator at Marina Del Rey Middle School since June of 2017 and Math Science Teacher at the same site since August of 2010. She previously served in LAUSD as a Mathematics Instructional Coach and Kindergarten to 5th grade teacher at Arlington Heights Elementary from April 2007 to August 2010, and a 1st and 5th grade teacher at Loyola Village Fine and Performing Arts Magnet Center from February 2003 to April 2007. Ellen received her Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Arts with an emphasis on mathematics from Loyola Marymount University in December of 2002, and her Master's of Arts in Educational Administration also at Loyola Marymount University in May of 2009. We'd like to welcome you.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to become a part of the TUSD team. I'm excited to be a rattlesnake, and I'm excited to bring innovative, exciting, challenging activities and programs to the students and make it a fun and comfortable place for everyone. So thank you for including me and welcoming me to this awesome district. And my family is here, the little teeny ones over there. So my husband and my 2 kids. Thank you.
She seemed just a little young to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. That's everything out of closed session, I believe. Moving on to staff presentation and information. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you guys can go. You don't have to hang out here. We'll talk about you after you leave, but that's okay. Welcome. Take your families out to dinner. Have a nice time. Thank you for joining us. That makes 4 rattlesnakes here in the...
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I would have let that slip past me. Moving on to staff presentation information, we have a report from the Council of PTAs. And now there's Nanette. Very good.
Sorry. Whew. It's the end of the school year. I don't have a countdown clock, but I feel like I should. So first of all, just hello and thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. We recently had, well, I owe Kareem a bit of thanks as well, and Torrance High and the Torrance PTA for hosting not one but 2 major events at their school, and they were amazing. That's unprecedented and not typical for Torrance and TUSD to host something so major, not once but twice in the same campus, and they were just amazing and gracious. And I'm a Saxon through and through, but I feel like Torrance would be a second choice for me, so don't tell my Saxons. So anyhow, thank you for that. That was a great opportunity. We had a chance to celebrate our scholarship recipients, our bike rodeo winners, and the accomplishments of all of our units. They work really hard all year long. These are parent volunteers who put in as many hours as I think a full-time person does, and I work with, myself included, a lot of full-time parents who, I don't know where we find the hours, but they do, and they're just amazing. So it was really great to have one last hurrah with them, and I can't say enough. We also had just this past Monday, a spring officers training inside baseball, just our free training that we give to all of our unit leadership to ensure that they're doing the absolute best they can at campus. So we're hoping to send them off scared and excited into the summer and be a little ready for the fall, and then we'll hit them with some more training. So that was really awesome. I wasn't there, so I thank my team sincerely for everything they've done. And our next really big, super exciting thing that will be coming up is a project I know you guys are probably aware of, but I think a lot of people aren't, which is called Project BOSS. The acronym stands for Bringing Our Student Supplies, and it serves about, I think, 500, I'm going to go off on a limb and say 500, but it's several hundred Torrance Unified School District students. Low-income families essentially qualify for these free backpacks that TUSD or Torrance Council provides with the partnership of TUSD, and they're awesome backpacks full of supplies for grade appropriate, and they're grade appropriate. So I just want to, I'll get more information out as it comes, but I believe that pickup will be toward the end of summer, and I believe Magruder Middle School has agreed to yet again do the distribution for us, or allow us to do distribution from there, which is beyond gracious, and I'm really thankful for them. Big shout out to Rochelle Duncan, who chairs that project, and Justine Ling, who is the principal at Arnold, and she's our partner in crime. So just really thankful for that. And also thankful for the units, because each of their contributions actually go toward funding this program. So it really is a big community program, and it's a huge undertaking, but it's incredibly rewarding. So that's it. I'm turning red, so I'm going to go sit down. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you. A report from the Torrance Education Foundation. Susan.
Good evening, everyone. As the end of the school year approaches, I know everyone's very excited to get out of school, but at Torrance Education Foundation and South Bay Enrichment Academy, we are just gearing up. So I'll remind everyone yet again that enrollment is still open, registration is still open for South Bay Enrichment Academy. We're very excited this year to have not only the regular programs we've always had for elementary, middle, and high school students in the morning, but we have launched and are expanding upon our afternoon programs for elementary students and middle school students, so kids can stay with us for an entire day if they so choose. Our website is TEF sbea.org, for anyone who might be interested in looking up information and possibly enrolling if you haven't already done so. It is also, I will remind you, I told you the last time I was here, this is our 10th season, our 10th anniversary season of South Bay Enrichment Academy, and it coincides with the launch of what will be our 25th annual year of Torrance Education Foundation activities supporting Torrance Unified School District. So we're very excited about the 25th anniversary kicking off. We'll be launching our fall fundraising campaign over the summer. But before we get to that, I have some more good news. I'd like to ask our president and some of our board members and staff to join me at the podium because we have a presentation to make tonight to the Board of Education. We're very happy to be presenting to the board this evening a $205,000 check for the next 5 elementary science labs that have been under construction and are approaching completion. Our grant will pay for the equipment and tools and supplies to launch the labs. The labs are at Hickory, Fern, Wood, Towers, and Riviera elementary schools, and I understand that they will be up and running and ready for students to do experimentation starting with kindergarten age when kids come back to school in the fall. I cannot present this from Torrance Ed Foundation without saying that the companies that supported us to help bring these funds together are Continental Development, the Ceres Regis Group, which is the firm that purchased the Toyota site, Surf Management Company, the Torrance Refinery, and those of you who were with us at our gala event in April know that we had some very generous donors present that evening who pledged funds directly for this project. So, $205,000, I know you'll put it to good use.
Do you want just me? Or all of you?
And we'd like to take a picture, please.
On my way.
Okay. Where do you want us, Tammy? Here?
In the middle, please, yes. Okay.
You did great.
That's as good as it gets. I'll load it up
I didn't keep the check. I'm confident Judy will get the check in another way. You don't wave a check in front of Judy Chai without her getting her attention. That's just how it's done. The presentation of the proposed 2018-2019 Local Control Accountability Plan. Dr. Crumpy.
Thank you. So as you know, we are in year 2 of a 3-year plan. This is a change from prior years, LCAPs, where each year prior, we would remove the current year and add the third year out onto the plan. They've changed that, starting with last year's approval, and you approved a 3-year static plan. So tonight, as we conclude the 2017-18 school year, you'll be approving, or next week, the next 2 years only. There were 24 meetings held with stakeholder groups to meet the statutory requirement to consult with students, parents, teachers, and bargaining units. This year, We met with 11 different site leadership teams, focusing on sites with a higher number of subgroups performing below level. Our parent groups included DELMAC, our Title I Advisory Committee, and our LCAP Parent Advisory Committee, where that Parent Advisory Committee had to have the majority of English learner parents, low-income parents, and foster youth parents. This year, I know you can't read all those dates, there were over 90 additional sessions held, and we expanded our input sessions to broaden the scope of our contribution and to have a stronger connection between the LCAP and our site needs. So this year what we did is we asked principals to hold LCAP input meetings with their faculty, their school site councils, and their English Language Multicultural Advisory Committees, their LCAPs. And the idea was that they were to provide feedback to their principal about the LCAP and ensure that site needs were being discussed, and then their principals brought that input back to a stakeholder meeting that we held, where our posters, or the LCAP was blown up into posters, and they went around and provided us input and ensured that issues that their sites had provided to them were brought forward. Now we shift into what some of the requirements are to have in the plan. And you've seen this slide before, but this is the first year that we are including dashboard metrics and local indicators into our LCAP. While this is our 5th LCAP, I think it's important to note that this really is the first year that the new rules on accountability are in place for us and will be moving forward.
But when you say new rules, and it's been around for 5 years, but now we have new rules.
Yes.
Explain the maybe lack of rules prior to that or whatever.
Absolutely. We had a lot of latitude with the local control in the first few years of the LCAP process. And while they were developing the state accountability metrics, but also working with the federal government on what those requirements would be with the new Every Student Succeeding Act, we were determining ourselves what metrics we were going to use to measure whether we were moving forward academically with our students or not. Since the design of the dashboard, and we received the first formal dashboard this December, we now have the rules in place, if you will, and are being told what metrics that we have to use and what data we have to collect. And it's changing daily as the federal government has yet to accept California's plan. As late as last week, they thought that they had a plan in place with a compromise of all of the federal questions in the state plan, and they did not accept it. So for example, within the last month, how graduation rate is being determined actually has changed. And so that metric not only is that we're required to use that metric, but how it's being calculated has changed, and that's per a federal government decision back to California. So it's becoming a little bit less of a local control and accountability plan, the more rules that they provide, or that they are requiring us to put into the plan.
Thank you.
So while you've seen this slide, overall, although our overall district scores are great, I want to also remind you that we have subgroups that are in need of additional support. And you've seen this slide again prior during our accountability presentation, but I wanted to note we are required to address any subgroup within any of these metrics that are in the orange or red and have specific targets to help them improve as they move on. I will share that as we received a letter saying that some of our test scores for this year are out and are not embargoed, that preliminary, we are happy to report that our elementary schools are seeing gains at 2 to 3% per grade level in language arts, and 3, 4, and 5% gains in mathematics. That's the number of students meeting or exceeding our standard. In middle school, we're seeing anywhere from a remaining constant, no growth, to 1 or 2% for English language arts, and a range of 1 to 4% for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in mathematics. So we're seeing some initial scores come out that are giving us an indicator on how well some of the things that we put in place for this year have worked with our students. Our task now, and I talked about this a little bit, is to design a plan that ensures all supplemental funding is targeting our low-income English learner and foster students. You see that term unduplicated that is used quite often throughout all of our guidance and within the Ed Code. Unduplicated are those three groups of students: low-income students, English learner students, and foster youth. And they use the term unduplicated because although we may have many students in all three subgroups, we only receive supplemental funds for them one time. So they're unduplicated monies as they come to us.
Dr. Crumpy, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You say 100% of our supplemental funding must be spent with these subgroups. That's mandated by the state of California.
That is mandated by the state of California.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's kind of where I was going. So the changes in the last 5 years on the previous slide about how the dash, how we have to report is also now reflected in the budgeting and how we spend those dollars. They're being more strict on how we spend those supplemental dollars.
And I think Mr. Egan is in the audience and can attest because he had to put together both the long version of the LCAP and then the short version that we create for the rest of us to read and be able to follow a little bit easier. I think went back and forth and discussing each individual little piece, and they question many actions.
They, the county.
The county. So the state of California has authorized every county office of education to be the approving board for all of the area school districts.
Thank you.
So key changes from, as I said, this was a static plan that you've for the most part approved last year, but we've made a couple of changes. And one in a big attempt to help our schools align their single plans for student achievement with our local control and accountability plan. Our goal, the original goal one that I think every school district in California used as goal one, was what I call the compliant goal. You're required to hire highly qualified teachers, provide students with materials, and facilities that were in good repair. And our sites have continuously addressed that was very difficult for them, as they aren't the hiring of the teachers or the purchaser of the materials, for them to really write a compelling plan that kind of aligned with our LCAP as we were asking them to do. So instead, what we've done is we've taken those requirements, those three things that I mentioned are still requirements, and we've reorganized them within the LCAP. And you see within goal one, the material requirement is still in there. In goal 3 is where we discuss hiring highly qualified teachers, and in goal 4, we talk about having safe and maintained facilities. And so instead, we've taken our old goal 3, which was a huge, large, all-encompassing student achievement goal, and we've separated it into 2 goals that are now our goals 1 and 2. And so that's kind of an organizational or a reorganization to assist our schools and also to be able to more clearly show and demonstrate how we're meeting the needs of our students. And this first goal is new, and this is the goal that really says all means all. We're going to do everything we can to ensure that all of our students have equitable access and are successful in our rigorous curriculum. Metrics, you can see graduation rate, our physical fitness test, college and career indicator, which is new and ever-changing. As late as last week, they're still adding components to that, as well as that material sufficiency. Our metrics that we're required to adhere to within this goal. Our key actions in here are our professional learning communities. We believe that the work that the teachers are doing are how we are reaching and ensuring that there's a rigorous curriculum for all students. The new major action in here is to continue the elementary collaboration time and switching it to use supplemental funds on an ongoing nature. There will be material adoption for history social studies next year. We are targeting college readiness, especially moving down into the middle school. We are expanding any middle school, or the request is to expand any middle school that doesn't already have a full-time counselor. This year there were 3. And ensure that every middle school has a full-time counselor. Our high school counselors are going to be working with them so we can create a 6-year plan of a college readiness. One of our main student input items is that waiting until they start high school and then start to meet with their counselors to start learning all of the college requirements was too late, and our high school students that have been part of our LCAP committee have asked us to please start sooner. And so this is within this goal, as well as career tech ed expansion, and we were happy, not within this plan because it's still being discussed, that the state is providing funding for the expansion of career tech ed programs. And so more on that to come. We're very excited about that.
Dr. Crumpy, Mr.
Yes.
Lee has a question.
When, under metrics for material sufficiency, are you talking about books? You talking about pencils and pens? What are we talking about?
This is textbook. This is Williams. This is the Williams.
stuff, okay.
This is the Williams stuff.
Thank you.
Yes.
But not things like science labs or experiments or stuff like that.
Those all can be considered part of material sufficiency.
Okay, thank you.
Our goal 2 is ensuring that all underperforming student groups and students that are needing additional assistance are being provided with whatever they need to ensure that they are continuously improving. The key metrics here are English language arts and math performance. Those were the scores the early indicator scores that I provided to you just a few slides ago, as well as our English learner performance and redesignation rates. And this is something that we still are awaiting as our students took the LPAC test for the first time, and some of our scores are coming out. We haven't seen summaries of these scores to be able to report on quite yet. Our key actions for this goal are the response to intervention, and with some pilot additional release time for intervention planning for our elementary schools. A Tier 3 intervention training. Now that we're getting a little bit more comfortable with Tier 1 and Tier 2 RTI, we are going to better know after our best first teaching and our best first steps in intervening, what our highly qualified intervention teachers need to be intervening with students on. And so there is an elementary intervention steering committee that is looking at that, and then we'll put together a plan on how that intervention will, on what their recommendations are of how that will look moving forward, including professional development of those intervention teachers so that they're being trained in what it is that are going to best help our students.
Mrs. Deutsch.
Dr. Crumpy, I just wanted to understand, how is this working with the dashboard and the reporting of this?
How is the English language arts and math performance?
The ELA performance and I mean, are they being reported and then they're being measured, or?
So the dashboard's a little different from what I initially, because we won't get that until, this year we got it in about December 12th. What I reported on earlier that we're seeing positive progress are the number of students who are meeting or exceeding our standards, which is great. That's what we're more comfortable and we're used to measuring. The dashboard, though, is different. It will measure that's called a status. So how well are we doing? But it also will measure the change. So how did a given student do last year compared to this year?
Okay.
And we are looking at that. You may have, I've spoken before, and it's a statewide, it's not just a Torrance issue, where English language arts scores are our lowest in 3rd grade, but they go up every year until 11th grade, and our math does the opposite. And so far, the results that have come out, we're seeing that trend again. We're seeing, big dips from 4th to 5th grade. and then another big dip from 7th to 8th grade. And so we're taking a look at how kids move through learning all of the standards, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? So keeping track of how kids are changing?
Mrs. Reagans.
Yeah, I didn't mean to, I was going to let you finish, but can you elaborate on the piloting additional release time for intervention planning? What does that mean exactly?
So, yes, and I may turn this over to Dr. Kim if there's more specific questions. But in the leadership team meetings and the discussions that we were having at sites, especially at the elementary level, where they're having to teach and intervene in every subject, we were hearing that there's a lot of work that we're asking of our teachers. And so this was an attempt, along with the PLC physical education in the prior goal, was to ensure that they had that hour of PE PLC time so that they can work together. And then this was a pilot idea that came about for them to then be able to move forward in RTI planning. So the YMCA came forward. They've had a program for a number of years in many other districts. It's been very successful. And they approached our schools with an idea that they could come in and do an additional instruction on physical education. A number of our schools were jumping on it, and they were already having the YMCA costed out for them. And when the governor moved forward in the January budget and fully funded us 2 years ahead of time, there was that additional funding. We thought, why remove it's about a $17,000 for an average school site. Why don't we offer that to all of the sites instead of the sites that were going to move forward on it anyway, and then giving them that money back that they would have spent to be able to use that and on the local decision-making at their site.
Mr. Stefan has a question.
You mentioned something about the dashboard, and if you want to answer this question at a later date, and if it's not relevant to this, let me know. But you mentioned dashboard, take the student this year and compares how that same student did last year on similar standards, right? Okay. Where I am, when we do our normal teacher data, just not the whole dashboard that we meet and we talk about data. We have the tendency to compare how my kids did this year compared to the class I had last year, not how the kid I have this year did last year on a similar kind of thing, assuming everything is at circular or whatever they call it. Does that translate into how Torrance is doing data? Are teachers getting a glimpse on their regular data meetings of how the same student they have this year did on a similar thing last year?
Yes, so I think we're looking at it in both ways. So what I was reporting on earlier, we looked to see grade by grade, how did a given school in third grade do last year, and how did that third grade group do this year? So we do look at it that way, and those are the scores I was reporting out to you, because that's what that's been what's been made available to us just starting late last week. And we look at that. But additionally, with the dashboard, we're also looking to ensure that students from third grade are still making progress moving on to fourth grade. So it's quite possible that a fourth grade may have moved up a few percentage points from the year before. But the third grade kids were higher the year before, and it's actually a decrease in their scores. So we're looking at it in both ways.
We'll talk about that a little bit more. That's a
Yeah.
I have one question. The PE piece, the YMCA PE piece, they're not just standard YMCA people. I'm assuming they've got some kind of training or something to make them viable for this?
Dr. Kim.
So specifically, they hire individuals to do these PE instruction type positions. They have them go through 55 hours of training before they begin the job, and then annually, while they're on the job, they have 56 more hours of training while they're there. So the training includes standards, goals, classroom management, child abuse prevention, and a variety of other ways to make sure that they are comfortable and good at teaching PE. After all, this is actually their primary job, is to teach PE.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mark?
Is this what we were talking about before, where the teachers, there was this option that teachers had that two people could meet, one person can kind of help supervise the Y?
Yeah.
And this is the one we were talking about.
This was this is a pilot program. Teachers could opt in or not. And I've got some of the numbers. 48% of our teachers have opted into the pilot. It's representing 11 of 17 sites and 42% of grade level teams. So they kind of did it as a grade level team, a fourth grade team from a given school, a fifth grade team from a given school. So we gave schools the option of signing up for the pilot or not.
Or not. So in other words, if there were 3 teachers in a grade level, and they could say, okay, this week, teacher A and B are going to meet, and then teacher C is going to be with the Y people, and then the next week it's teacher, there's a rotation kind of thing, if they opt for that particular plan.
If they opt for that, they can decide how to do that at their site level.
And you say this is a pilot. How long have we been trying this?
Our pilot actually began at Fern Elementary School. So for 4 weeks during April and May, 4 different employees from the Y came and actually did PE with 2 grade levels. We believe it was very successful. The director was also there on an almost daily basis. Several other folks, including myself, went out and observed, and we thought the program was very successful. So the pilot began with 1 school and a couple of grade levels. It will continue next fall with the numbers that Dr. Crumpy said.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And do you have any specifics, how the teachers chose to rotate that, or just curiosity?
Well, keep in mind, this was only for 4 weeks.
Right.
And it was only for 2 days a week. And so when I was specifically out there, I actually saw several of the teachers were still out there because they were observing the lessons, and they wanted to make sure that they were getting a good quality PE instruction. Frankly, the principal, Mrs. Mabry, was out there at the same time as well. So there was a credentialed person out there during all the times that the YMCA PE program was going on.
Okay, so the teachers were kind of like just feeling it out, maybe, and seeing if that this was a worthwhile moment for their students at the beginning.
Correct.
Okay.
Mrs. Reagans.
So the expectation is that there will be a certificated person with them at all times, and not just the PE people, or the YMCA PE people?
So it will be up to the school to decide how they want to supervise on their own. Keep in mind, it actually isn't required that a credentialed person is out there. What is required is for it to count as instructional minutes, and 200 minutes are required for every 10 school days, according to California Ed Code. For those to count as instructional minutes, then a credentialed person does need to be out there. So, for example, if a school does PE one day on their own, meaning the general ed teacher teaches it, and then a second day are 6.4 elementary PE teachers, they are teaching one day, and then there's a third day where the YMCA is coming. Actually, the third day, as long as there's at least 50 minutes the first 2 days, where the general ed teachers did it and the elementary PE teachers did it, that actually would be no need to have a credentialed person out there that third day. Because they're already...
minutes.
Exactly.
Minutes, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so goal 3 is our professional development goal. And our major metric here is the implementation of state standards. We have to have a local indicator where we are ensuring that our teachers are teaching the standards in every content area. And this is also where we've moved the highly qualified teacher metric requirement. Key actions in here, that we will continue our signature practice training for all of our new teachers. We will have voluntary ongoing professional development based on need for school sites and training within, for English language development as we get the results back from our LPAC testing and see how our students are performing. Goal 4 is probably the area which will be the strongest focus for Torrance Unified School District next year. Attendance, suspension rates, chronic absenteeism, which will be new. We don't have that yet, but it's going to be another additional metric added for us on our fall dashboard. And a utilization of a school climate survey that we gave as a baseline for the first time in elementary, middle, and high school. These key actions are the additional counseling time to expand services for every elementary school. The proposal is to add an entire day or 6 hours of counseling time for that social, emotional, bully prevention, personal development of our young people at our school sites. Also moving from PBIS, which I think next year, our last school is in its final training year for that, into multi-tiered systems of support. So now it's kind of putting it all together. What are these layers of supports that we're going to have ready for students? And finally, school safety and rolling out both threat assessment to self and to others in a very comprehensive plan moving forward next year. And finally, Goal 5, our parent piece, to improve our parent outreach across Torrance Unified School District. Nancy Gutierrez is finishing a parent involvement survey where she's asking for input with our advisory committees in this beginning. And we're also working on an all-parent communication survey, so we can kind of figure out how do parents best want us to communicate for us and get information and input that we're working on rolling out, possibly with our registration, online registration for the first time, and asking just 3 to 4 quick questions of parents how they want us to best communicate with them. And next steps. Yes.
Mrs. Deutsch.
Is there any way that we could see a copy of the surveys that was sent out?
Yes, well, as soon as Nancy's compiled the results, we'll report out to you. It's part of our,
I wanted to see a copy of the survey that was sent out to the parents.
Oh, to the
Not the
advisory
results.
parents?
Yeah.
Yes.
Not the results, just
Can
the survey.
Can I see a copy of those?
Yeah, I can get
Okay,
that for you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Crumpy.
And so our next steps. The next steps is, with the approval of this LCAP, we then will redesign our single plan for student achievement so it matches the new goal alignment. The program evaluation for our unduplicated students, that the more results that roll in, so we can see how those students are doing. Monitoring our at-risk subgroups, those groups that come back in the yellow, orange, and red, to ensure continuous improvement, and then the anticipation of our fall dashboard results that come out, so we can review and use that to start this process again.
Are there any further questions from the board? Okay. And I'm moving on to 8.4, report from the District Budget Committee, presentation of the proposed 2018-2019 budget. Dr. Stowe.
Thank you, Mr. Wormers, members of the board. The information that I'm going to share with you tonight is from the governor's May revise regarding the state budget. Senate Bill 840, which was the budget bill, was approved by the Assembly last week on Thursday, and so the governor has not yet signed the bill. There were some changes in here that we're aware of. We've made some estimates. Ms. Chai and her staff have gone through some of the conference committee compromise that occurred last week, but until we actually see the numbers from Sacramento after the governor signs this, we won't know for sure. on some of this. So as we go through this presentation, I'll tell you what we know based on, or what we estimate based on what we know. And, but again, the numbers from this are based on the May revise because that's the information that we have. So as we build the budget, there are some assumptions that we take under consideration, and that is the funding and the local control funding formula. You can see that we have an increase from 17-18 into 18-19 in the base of $5.2 million, an increase in supplemental funding, which are the targeted students that Dr. Crumpy discussed, at almost $1.2 million. So for an increase in total funding of $6.4 million in ongoing money. One-time discretionary funds, these are funds that we've received the last few years, and for $7.7 million. This is a number that we believe is going to change under the governor's budget, and by a decrease of about $4 million. The governor, or the conference committee, made some changes as it relates to the increase in the COLA for the current year, which provides more money into the LCFF, and they've taken that away from the base. When we look at year 3, which is, we need to budget the current plus 2 out years, it really is very minor, the difference within that time span. So, but this is what we've got as of now.
Dr. Stowe, Mr. Lee has a question.
Yes.
So can you roll the slide back? Yeah, the 7.765 million will now be 3.7 million?
Correct.
And then that 3 million will then roll up to increase in base?
So the increase in the LCFF, the COLA was changed from 3 to 3.7%. And we estimate that to be an additional $1.27 million in the LCFF. So some in the base, some in the supplemental.
Okay, so then we're giving up 3 in one-time discretionary funds and getting back roughly 2?
We're giving up 4 in one-time funds and getting back 1.27.
That's a great deal. Okay, so was there any rationale? I mean, where did that money go? Did it go to other people and other things, or where did that money go?
I can't speak to the details on that, to be honest with you. What we've done is taken...
Went to the bullet train, I bet you. Just teasing.
Taken the additional 0.7 on COLA and put it into, they put it into the LCFF and took away the one-time.
But did other districts, when this happened, end up better off? And then we ended up worse off? Is it one of those kind of situations because we don't have a lot of supplemental?
If you have a district that you're high concentration, yes, you'll receive more within the LCFF than you would on the one-time.
So then you would have, so basically the more challenging districts, I have to worry about when I get home, the more challenging districts out there throughout the state, northern, southern, eastern, western California, they potentially could see their one-time discretionary funds be replaced by more money than they're giving up in the discretionary in continuing revenue.
Yes.
In supplemental.
But in supplemental,
But,
yes.
and that is the crux of the problem even for those districts,
Correct.
as Dr. Crumpy was explaining.
Okay, good, thank you.
Part of the problem because the supplemental is restricted as to
Correct.
how you spend it.
Correct.
Okay.
So the increase, so these are some other assumptions that we made based on the numbers. And, STRS and PERS, the retirement contributions are continuing to increase. I have the percent later in a different slide. Those increases to what we're paying are $2.6 million over the current year. We are, the BITSA program this is the beginning teacher program induction. That's been paid for the last 2 years out of the educator effectiveness grant. That is something now that we will have to put back into the general fund, and the cost of that is $801,000. And then we're continuing the same as last year with the GATE program of $225,000.
So we lost the grant for the 801.
Yes,
Now
we
we have-
didn't lose it. We spent it, and that grant
ended.
expired. Yes.
Expired, and so now we're having to pick that grant, pick up that, okay.
Correct. And when we recommended that and the board took action on that 3 years ago, we knew that all along. It was a way to utilize state grant funds for something that we were already doing, and therefore saving the district's general fund for 2 years, that $800,000. So here are some other assumptions that you can see. The COLA, it does for 18-19 says 3%. We know that under the compromise has gone to 3.7. LCFF gap funding is now eliminated. We've gone to 100% full funding of the local control funding formula. And you can see that we continue to have some declining enrollment in each of the next number of years, and that trend continues slightly by about 100 students or so out into the future. For lottery fund, oh yes.
There's a question on that. That 100% full LCF gap funding means we're at the 2007-8 level?
Thank you, Mr. Steffen. That is exactly what that means. And as you know, I've commented on that through the years, that we see in the newspapers that there's a lot of money, that we received all this money. All we're doing is getting paid back for what was taken from school districts during the Great Recession. And this is, as you indicated, brings us back to the funding level we were actually at in the 07-08 school year. However, what is not contemplated in terms of the funding level for 07-08 is the increase. Dr. Stowe has pointed that out. Mrs. Chai has budgeted for it in STRS, PERS, and special education. And oh, by the way, just to comment, there are no additional funds for special education in this budget at all, from either state or federal funds. So really, we are living in 2018 with funding at the 07-08 level.
Plus a couple other big hits.
With some big hits.
And so FYI, when I first became a board member, we were at 25,005 or something like that.
Correct.
ADA. And so we've lost about 3,000 kids. And
Through those years, yes.
So you can see here on this slide, the amount that will receive under lottery has stayed the same and is projected to stay the same. There are the STRS and PERS rates. You can see the increases through 2021, and we haven't made any settlements with any of our employee groups for the current year, and so we haven't budgeted in any of these figures for any salary schedule changes. So on this slide, you can see that we're deficit spending. When we look at 18-19, that surplus, again, was based on the one-time funds of almost $8 million that we had expected to receive. When we calculate in the additional dollars that we will receive on the LCFF and then take away the one-time funds, you'll see a deficit in 18-19 of around $600,000 to $700,000. And so, and then the numbers will change slightly in the next couple of years. But we continue to deficit spend, again, for all the reasons that we've mentioned here, salary schedules, rolling of salary schedules, the STRS and PERS rates, as well as increasing costs for special education. And when you have 90% of your budget on people, any increase is a significant hit to, our expenditures. So the unrestricted general fund, multi-year projection, these are beginning and ending fund balances. Obviously, the ending fund from one year ties to the beginning balance on the next. And here you can see the reserve for economic uncertainty as a percent of the total general fund expenditures. In 1920 is projected to be at 8.5%. And then for 2021, which is the third year out, once July 1 rolls into play, that we're at just over $3 million above the 3% at 4.2% of a reserve. And this is the number that doesn't change much when we calculate and when we look at the third year of what the compromise has been composed of.
Mr. Steffen.
So these numbers, these reserves, which you look at 10%, 11, and 8, and 4, they look high, but this doesn't count any, your previous slide, count any salary negotiations or things like that. So, I mean, I don't want to ask, but so these, if there were, as we negotiate salaries and settle, these numbers will go down as far as the amount of reserve.
Correct. And we are required to have a 3% reserve for economic uncertainty, and you can see in the third year it would be just slightly 1% above the required 3%.
Actually, can I?
Mrs. Reagan's.
I just wanted to follow up on that. So, as you said, there's no negotiated raise represented here, but just for the public, does that mean that our folks will have exactly the same payroll payout for the next year? Or, I don't know that people in the public understand that we have a step and column increase that's built into what we're accounting for in the future.
Sure. Depending on where people are with regard to where they are on the salary schedules, classified and certificated, there is movement year to year. Not all employees move every year, but that is an increased cost that has been accounted for here.
And that's, do we have a percentage idea of what that is?
I would have to check the number. I believe, I don't want to guess at it.
I think the last time we looked at it was 2.6.
That's what I remembered too, 2.5, something like that.
Mrs. Reagan's has always brought that issue to light because it's what we assume, not accounting like Mrs. Chai is, but that's a fixed cost for us, along with the utility costs that we know we're going to have to pay for. Now, if you notice, one of the things that Dr. Stowe did was he listed what the COLAs are, and let's remember that COLA in California is a little bit different how that they calculate that. So that's not the federal COLA out there. But when you look at those COLAs, and this is why it's so important to understand, for example, a bill that Mr. Mersucci has, AB 2808. If in fact school districts only receive the COLA, you can see for most districts the fixed costs exceed the amount of the COLA. So you're going to be negative right away without that. And a reminder, and some of you have seen some of the things I've said and written about this, that it's important to understand we do not today have a funding formula because we just hit 100% of the LCFF. And that's why some of the assembly members, led by Mr. Mersucci, are trying to put one in place because there is no funding formula. And you have to have a funding formula to distribute money. So the only piece that today that school districts would have is the COLA itself, which we know fixed costs outstrip.
Fixed costs, things like fuel, parts.
Utilities
paper,
and-
Utilities, all those are fixed costs that increase every year.
Correct, yeah.
Not just the step and column, but other.
Oh, no, there are many more fixed costs.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stock. Go ahead.
So in order to meet Education Code 42127 that says that school districts, if you have above a 3% reserve, you need to disclose it and identify why you're carrying that. We do have, for the 18-19 budget, a minimum requirement of roughly $7 million for maintaining the required 3%. We have $18 million above that, and that is, again, as you see in the 3-year projection, to balance the negative or the deficit spending and balance the budget moving into future years. So as we move forward, we will be asking for your consideration to adopt the budget next Monday night, and then within 45 days of adoption, we will be bringing forward budget revisions, again, some of which we think we know, but we'll get more details in the trailer bill language upon the governor signing the budget.
All right. Is there any further questions from the board? Mr. Lee?
Yeah, couple of things. As I went through it, I couldn't find it, but it was probably obvious. We do have a sinking fund for those fields set aside in this year's budget going forward.
Yes.
And that amount is?
$500,000.
A year. So
Yes.
when we get 10 years from now, we have money set aside for those fields. Good.
Correct.
The budget committee was aware of that as we.
Okay. Second thing, and this is going to be a little outside the box, so I'll probably have to start it with a parable. Yeah, I know, it's pretty scary. Insurance agents have the equivalent, I guess, of RTIs, which are meetings in which information is downloaded to you with a fire hose. And in the middle of all of this, farmers, or the insurance company I work for, it's not an ad, has a program out there where they've recognized what we hear all the time, that teachers spend money out of their own pocket in the classrooms and those kinds of things. So they actually have a program where the agents can spend up to $100 per teacher, 2 teachers a year. So me being industrious and somewhat bored in ADD, I did the math of how many teachers we had and then how many I could, and we didn't have enough insurance agents to make that work. So, but it led me to something else, and, you know, it's going to be a little outside the box. I mean, Dr. Mannon's probably going to give me the evil stare here in a minute, so that's good. I did a little further research, and roughly what I'm hearing in all the different things I looked at, that the average teacher spends about $400 a year in pencils and papers and that kind of stuff in their classroom. Clearly, I've said something wrong because there's a murmur someplace, but that's okay. They can come in and comment on this. So they spend, you know, plus or minus, maybe some spend 0, some spend 800, but that's what I'm hearing, lack of any other information. So, and the new Trump tax plan probably eliminates all those little deductions you could take if you spent in your classroom, probably done. So my idea is, and I'm going to dump this on you guys, and then you're going to come back to me on how you're going to fund it, is we have roughly 1,250 teachers, give or take. So if we set aside $400 per teacher is roughly $500,000. And I don't, as I kind of envision this, I envision this more site-driven as opposed to getting hung up in the bureaucracy of getting a purchase order and going through all of that, where the principals are kind of, they can sign this stuff off. And there's a method to this madness in the long run. But I want to be able to collect the data of what they're spending money on. Is it pencils or pens or toner cartridges or whatever they're spending it on. So we'll spend a year, it's a pilot program, we're going to hopefully use one-time money for it, pilot it. Then at the end of the year, as I look and see that the state seems to want to fund us with a lot of one-time money going forward. So this is something that, if the one-time money's there, we can do it. It isn't really a long-term commitment because if, everything goes sideways, then we'll have to obviously trim that a bit. But at the end of the first year, what we can look at is we'll see we're buying this many reams of paper and this many pencils and this many pens and this many erasers and whatever it may be. We'll have that data, so maybe what we can do is get some purchasing power behind it, maybe pre-buy these things, and maybe instead of spending $500,000, maybe we can spend $425,000. But the thought is that, in my business, I don't expect my employees to spend money on their pencils and pens. We got an account at Staples and they get whatever they need. So, and it's always bugged me for the 10 years I've been up here that I'm expecting employees to spend their own money for their own stuff, but I guess it's in the culture of education throughout the United States as I looked at it. But it just always kind of bugged me because I don't do that with my own employees. So, I kind of want to see what that looks like and how we can make that work. I know we've got, we're well above the 3% reserve for uncertainty, but yeah, we haven't factored in raises and those kinds of things. But I really want to see if we can make this work because I think it benefits the kids, I think it benefits the teachers, and I think it ultimately could benefit us because we'll know what's being spent because we'll have all those requisition forms. But I do want it to be controlled by the principals. I don't want to create a whole lot of work at the district office. They can just sign it off and get the reimbursement. But then maybe at the end of the year, if we need to buy X number of reams of paper, as I said before, then maybe we can get some purchasing power behind that. So there is my long rambling thought of the evening to try to maybe spend a little bit of the one-time money kind of in the classroom. It just kind of bugs me when we get emails going, why are you guys fundraising for toilet paper? And I really don't have a good answer. So, or why are we fundraising for paper? And I'm going, well, yeah, it's a $250 million project, or 220 or whatever it may be. So kind of, it's maybe only my pain point and nobody's going to agree with me, but that's kind of where I'm at right now with this budget. So I will now be quiet.
We can bring it back. I bet you Mr. Lee would like you to bring it back.
Do you need a consensus amongst us to do that?
We'll have to go through it and look at it.
Because we're already giving them a significant amount of discretionary money at each school site per student to the school.
Well, I mean, each school gets supply budgets
Right.
for material, supplies and custodial, and then they get some additional funds for $10 a student for student achievement. So,
But I'm constantly hearing from our teachers, from teachers in other districts, you see it in the news, I saw it from my insurance company that teachers are spending money out of their pockets. So it may be a way to kind of deal with that post-Trump tax rules and everything else, because most of the teachers I've talked to spend money out of their pocket.
Yeah, I do believe that's true, but I also see it from the other side, from PTAs, that they ask the teachers for sort of wish lists and try to fulfill the needs of the teachers in the classroom with donations and
Okay,
contributions.
if this is a bad idea and if they're getting the money
From
from
them.
some other place, then I'll pull it. But I don't think that's the situation. I think that's the situation, but tell me otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think we need to get some information.
Mr. Stefan would like to comment.
Teachers do spend money out of their pocket. But schools also supply a lot of things. I have not bought pencils before because the school has pencils and I can go get a box of pencils and sharpen them up. And I bought a couple pencil sharpeners over the years now and then because the other ones just keep breaking. But, and the reams of paper, that's provided, but the bulletin board borders I buy or the extra or reading library that I buy. And these kind of things are, not supplied by the district. So it'd be interesting to know what the district already does supply on a day-to-day basis, erasers and things like that. And then, but a teacher looks at the room and says, I need something here. I need this to work. I need this bulletin board to do these kind of things. And you go to the teacher store and you buy all the materials you need to get that kind of thing to work, or a learning center. You have to have a listening center. So you need these things to make that work. That may not be supplied by the district. So the district is most likely supplying a lot of stuff, but the other things, maybe not so much. So it'll be interesting to know what the district supplies and what the teachers are having to buy.
Right, and I completely agree with you.
Yep.
That is how you need to approach it. Okay, seeing no more other comments, thank you, Mr. Lee, it's an interesting idea. Moving on to number 9, public hearing. 9.1, public hearing on the adoption of the 2018-2019 Local Control Accountability Plan. The opening statement, this is a duly noted public hearing under Ed Code 42605 on adoption of the 2018-2019 Local Control Accountability Plan. The 2018-2019 Local Control Accountability Plan will be presented to the Board of Education at a special meeting on June 25th for adoption. Any interested persons are now afforded an opportunity to be heard. You need to fill out a pink card, and I have 2 of those. I'd like to go ahead and get a motion to open it. Is that what I need to do?
So moved. Second, whatever.
And then we vote on that? Or go to the cards? Go to the cards.
When you vote on it, you go to the cards.
Okay, all those in favor of opening the public hearing?
Aye.
And let's hear from Mr. Barahumam first. There he is.
Good evening. I had a chance this afternoon to look at the LCAP, and I was looking at some of the pages. I had a couple questions, and as that gets passed down, I'll wait, because first question to the district is, isn't the district legally required to provide special education services to students, regardless of whether they are low-income English learners or foster youth? And the reason I ask that question is because Action 3.8 and Action 5.2 are both using supplemental funding source, which would not make it, the special education is not a supplemental education, so therefore, from my understanding, it should be coming out of the base. Parent survey, goal 5. I was looking at the agenda, and I keep seeing this parent survey. There, it came up there on goal 5. And then they talk about it on page 135 of the LCAP, parent surveys. Then they talk about it again at the Parent Advisory Committee, which happened on May 16th and probably earlier. Parent survey. I'm a parent. I don't believe I was ever involved in part of a parent survey. I like to see those demographics. It's probably a local measurable number that should be posted somewhere. So I looked, and I believe it is, but it's all about just the Parent Advisory Committee. That's actually previously on page 120, expected annual measurable outcomes, parent engagement local indicator. 12 parents equals average school community participation. 24 parents equals average district level community participation. 590 parents average district level workshop attendance. How big is this district? How many parents do we have? A lot more than that. So I feel as a parent, I don't have a voice. Then I started looking at LCAP Goal 1. I'm very interested in AP classes being taught at our campuses to our high school students. PSAT, college readiness, it's a big indicator. Found it in the Goal 1 before last year. No, I'm sorry, it was actually 3.9. I saw it also that it was presented to the Parent Advisory Committee. Open access to honors and advanced placement courses. high school college week, all students take the PSAT and the PACT. That's goal that's action 1.7. It was previously 3.9 the previous year. And it actually has a measurable outcome, which is the AP pass rate at 72% for last year. That's something that has to be reported out. That's actually a year old because the AP results don't come out until the summer, so we're not going to know how they did this 2017. Other measurable outcomes that would have been interesting to see is the equity and excellence number that's given to every high school principal, the PSAT participation rate at the schools, the SAT participation rates. These are all numbers that are on the California, not the dashboard, but on DataQuest, CDE, dataquest.ca.gov. Annual update. The goal change, 1.7, it talks about equal access, more of this, and then it just becomes 1.7. It becomes, if you look at this, TUSD will successfully prepare all students for college and career by providing pathways to acceleration and open access. Transportation, articulation, allocation to support middle school student acceleration, that was talked about a little bit today. Science and math pathways, analysis, PACT and PSAT testing, gate enrichment opportunities and materials, additional sections provided to high schools. What sections? Again, why not talk about PSAT participation? It's going to be given on, if it's going to be given, it's going to be October 10th, I believe, a PSAT day. I believe that's Wednesday, so kids should be in school. It's not that expensive. Do all students enroll in AP classes take the AP exam? That's another important thing. It's also expensive. It's also, when I was looking at this, it was mentioned that in 2.4, there's some supplemental money that's being allocated to this goal. It's $100 or more, or less, actually, about $50 plus for this AP test. I mean, how are they students who are low income paying for these tests? Then I looked at the AP ledger. These are teachers that have registered and produced their course description, which is more time on these teachers. Are they getting paid for that extra time? I don't know. But they have to write a course description, get it approved, send it into College Board, and then College Board provides this AP ledger, which the University of California Office of the President looks at to say, yes, this class merits a +1 point as an honors class. South High has 25 APs, 30 teachers have been approved. North High only has 17 APs, 20 teachers. 18 teachers for West High, 23 teachers were approved. 18 APs, 23 teachers. Torrance High is a little bit low, 15 APs, 18 teachers approved. Is there being offered any AP training for these teachers to go to the AP institutes in the summer? I didn't get to see that in the LCAP. Maybe it's in there, maybe it's buried under one of the other actions, 2.4, which is supplemental money, I don't know. But these are my concerns with the LCAP this year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deb to Bush on public hearing 9.1.
Good evening, School Board, President Warners, and Cabinet. Deb Bush, TTA President. I came here tonight with one message, and it seems to have morphed into more than what I expected. Mr. Steffen, I would like to thank you, and I appreciate for you fostering the discussion on the YMCA program. I started this evening with, I'm here tonight to voice my concerns regarding the way the optional YMCA program is being rolled out at the elementary level. Optional means left to one's choice, not required or mandated. This program is labeled as optional. At many sites, teachers have said, no thank you, to the Tier 2 intervention planning time, wanting instead face time with their students. One would think that at the end of the YMCA Tier 2 intervention planning discussion with these teachers would end, because no means no. Unfortunately, this has not been the case. After repeatedly declining and stating they're opting out, they have been repeatedly asked, questioned, and pressured into opting in. This is a problem that should be addressed as where it comes in tonight. Should the response that our students can be unsupervised during the instructional day without a credentialed teacher present, I implore you to investigate and research this program and these concerns before full implementation occurs. As my t-shirt says, change always costs something. This program costs money, it costs face time with students, and most important, the potential safety of our TUSD elementary students.
At this point, unless there's someone else who wishes to speak, Mr. Stefan.
I'm not going to respond to that specifically, but there were some questions asked about whether I can about the effect. Okay.
After any discussion, the president closes the public hearing. I get a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We now move to 9.2, a public hearing on the adoption of the 2018-2019 budget. This is a duly noticed public hearing under Education Code Section 52103 on the adoption of the 2018-2019 budget. The adoption of the 2018-19 budget will appear on the June 25th special meeting of the Board of Education. Any interested persons are now afforded the opportunity to be heard. I've received no cards. Does anyone wish to speak on the 2018-2019 budget? Yes, sir.
Do you need me to fill out another card?
No. You can when you're done.
Okay. Just the searchable PDF, other districts, local districts do a searchable PDF, so it makes it very open for everyone to just look up whatever's being spent on by a search. TUSD still is using a scanned PDF, which means that you can't search it. I know the other local districts, and it's created by a special program. Not sure what budgeting program they use here, but if the other districts can do it, I'm sure someone could call one of the other districts, hey, can you help us out? Can you help us produce this as a searchable PDF so that our constituents, our parents, the people that live in Torrance are interested in this budget, so that the teachers union can look up things and say, oh, how much have we spent on this code or that code? It should be very open access to everyone, and if it's something that the other districts can do, I don't understand why Torrance Unified can't. I was hoping they could, but I just noticed today on the budget, it was posted. It was a scanned document. Someone printed it, went to a copier, scanned it into a PDF instead of just exporting out of the program. So hopefully that can be fixed, and maybe that could be switched out at some point. Thank you.
Thank you.
I know this isn't a time for, I guess, my response to that is I understand that it's a state form that is not alterable to be posted.
That is correct. It's a state software that every district is required to use. I can check to see if I can make it searchable, but I'm not too sure how that is being done.
But in looking at other
software-
districts, go ahead.
It's a state software that has a lot of different modules in there, so we go in there and print different forms as what the district needs. For example, we have Fund 1, Fund 11, Fund 12. Other districts might have Fund 1, Fund 3, different funds than we do. So each district is a little bit different. That's why we go into the software system, and then we print the forms that we need. Or we prepare the forms, and we print the forms that we need. And then I print hard copy, and then I PDF it to a copy machine.
Mm-hmm. Can we investigate? Because I've not seen a searchable form on any school district website, so I don't know what that would look like or whether we have that capability.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if I know which district's document is searchable.
Redondo Beach, Hawthorne, They all have it. It's probably going to be posted at this time because it's budget season right now.
Right.
Or you can look at even, I was looking at previous years. So they've been doing it since last year.
I did check on Manhattan Beach because I went onto their website and I saw the same form as what we use.
It looks the same, but when you do a Control F to find something, you can type in text into that little find box, and then it'll take you to, it'll tell you, it's, that word is found on 20 pages, you know, with a little index on the side with Adobe PDF. With this one, it won't, it says it's not searchable, it'll give you a little response, says you can't do it because it's a scanned document.
Just out of curiosity, just because there's people on TV, typical protocol is you ask the board the question, we'll ask staff the question. So, not to be rude, but nobody on TV can hear what you're saying. And it's probably not the right protocol. So in the future, you want to ask us a question, that's great, we'll refer to staff. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go ahead and close this at that point. Unless someone else has something to say about the budget, I'm looking for a motion to close the public statement part.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we have now moved to the oral communication portion of our meeting. Let me lead with anyone who wishes to speak. I need a yellow card from them. The Board of Education welcomes input from the public. In order to discuss district business in an orderly manner for the privacy and safety of the speakers and to help staff respond more directly, the board policy requires a public presentation to the board comply with certain procedures, including speakers to non-agenda items may address only items that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. Time allotted for such presentations is usually 3 minutes, and total time allotted for presentations is usually 30 minutes. A speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another. When addressing the board, speakers are requested to state their name, address the president from the podium, and adhere to the applicable time limits. Complaints against employees or students will normally be heard in closed session, and the district complaint procedure should be followed before discussion with the board. The board may remove any disruptive individuals and order the room cleared if necessary. Any individual who willfully disturbs any public school meeting is guilty of a misdemeanor. Ed Code 32210. I have approximately 19 cards. At 2 minutes, change our speaking time from 3 minutes to 2. That puts us at 36 minutes. Do my colleagues on the board accept that's a good time window? Okay, so we're going to shift from 3 minutes to 2 minutes, and we will go until we're done. And as in the past, I will call a name and then call who's following them, the person who's on deck, and we'll try to move through this as quickly as possible. The longer we applaud, the longer we're here tonight, so keep that to a minimum. Okay, so Mr. Steffen's going to hold up a sign that says 30 seconds, so you know how much you have left to speak. And moving right along, we are now Mr. Berrum, being as you're close and handy.
I just want to say, commend Mr. Steffen on your retirement from the Hawthorne School District. 2 days away, Wednesday. Mr. Steffen was actually a mentor to me back at Hawthorne Middle School back in '97. So that was awesome. On a second note, I was looking at Daily Breeze and they were talking about the cardboard regatta. It was pretty exciting. Two things. One, I was a little bummed out that there was only one school from north of 190th, Casimir, that was involved in that. But when I looked at the pictures, and I commend the schools that were in it, there was a lot of girls in that STEM program. So that is pretty good. I know that's something that we're looking at the state, girl participation in engineering. That's an important thing, and it showed in that pictures that I saw in the Daily Breeze. So thank you very much.
Okay. I forgot to call on Julie Schenkel, you're next, I'm sorry, followed by Paul Kim.
Good evening, members of the board. Julie Schenkel, I'm an AP Lit teacher at North High School, and I am a member of the TTA Board of Directors. I wanted to come tonight to speak for a couple of pieces, but first off, when we work together, we really do great things. While our ongoing negotiations battle and the things that divide us have taken center stage this year, one thing remains clear, that when we work for our joint best interests, we can do great things in this district. Today marks the last Monday of the school year, day 177 of 180, and yes, we are counting. And it marks the end of a second year without a contract settlement. I hope that the TUSD administration and board will commit to negotiating a fair settlement in the coming days, and that they will work with us to do great things in this district. to exemplify the great things, though, that you guys have worked with us to do. One of my students said, and I quote, "I am proud to be a TUSD graduate." And, I quote, "I appreciate a superintendent who makes students' learning a priority." Last week, my AP Lit students finished up their annual round of mock job interviews, and many of you participated in that. You showed the students firsthand that they mattered to more than just their classroom teachers at the site, and I thank you for that. My students are sending a special thank you to Dr. George Mannon, Dr. Katie Crumpy, Ms. Terry Reagans, and Ms. Martha Deutsch for taking the time to come to our class and conduct some coaching on the job interviewing skills with them. And so just to remember that when we work together on our joint mission, we really do accomplish great things, but right now we have a lot of work to do to find that joint mission. So thank you. May I hand out the cards?
I'm sorry?
May I hand out the thank you cards?
Of course, of course. Mr. Kim, followed by Glenna Caruso?
Good evening. I was actually kind of hoping to go a little bit later, but I'm going to go ahead and introduce all the people who are representing Torrance High School, and especially the tennis team. Go ahead and stand up. Just wanted you guys to see who's here. I'm just a little bit of history. I'm a graduate of Torrance High School, class of 85, yeah. And we just recently moved back. I volunteer coach tennis at Torrance High School. My son is part of the program. And the reason why we're all here is because of the condition of the tennis courts. It's my understanding, I'm just new here, so I'm going to ask some information, that there is a bond measure for renovation of said facilities, correct? Okay, so my question is this the governing body that's in charge of making the decisions in terms of the priority of the renovations?
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't delegate that out to anyone, it's you guys, right? Okay, was there a formal inspection done on the Torrance High tennis courts?
We'll write these questions down.
Yeah, we have to-
Okay,
it's-
and I'm asking this
can't have a
because the conditions of the courts are very unsafe. We've had a number of students on the tennis team be injured. We've had visiting players injured on these tennis courts. We've repeatedly brought up. We in fact brought pictures so you guys will be able to see them. And so we need to understand when, in terms of the priority, is the facility going to be addressed in terms of safety. If we can get a formal inspection, then we can determine whether it's actually safe structurally or if it's a more of a cosmetic thing that can be done. Secondly, we really want to make sure that our students are safe, so we have to have a code of safety to bring up the facilities to the safety standards that are acceptable. And I'm going to ask in advance, if we can get these renovations done, I know this is almost ridiculous, but if we can get them done before the start of the next school year, that would be great. If it cannot be done by the next school year, we're going to ask for an alternative site for our players to safely practice and play their matches in the upcoming year. I know that's been done with the swim team. They've been practicing and playing over at the plunge, and we want to request that for our tennis team as well.
I need two things. One, I need some contact information here where it says address, phone number, email address, something so we can get back to you with your questions. And secondly, you and your people will need to start this process with Mr. Gerges, the principal at the high school. If you'll talk to him first, then...
We don't want to, okay, a lot has been done, and then nothing's been done. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, let me interject here. You always start with the principal. That is who you go to. The principal has the schedule.
Okay.
That comes through Dr. Stowe's office. So your first step is to talk with Mr. Gerges, and certainly Dr. Stowe can talk with Mr. Gerges also, but that's the step you need to take.
And we can get your questions answered if I can get them back to you by getting some address.
Now, I'm not the head coach, but I know that conversations have been had with certain peoples, and I'm not going to go into it because I don't have firsthand knowledge. So I'm not coming up here just out of the blue to go over someone's head.
Oh, I
I'm a
understand.
former educator myself, Burbank Unified School District many years, so I know the chain of command. So I'm coming here as a parent, expressing my concern for the safety of my child and also his teammates.
Okay. And I'm just trying to make this a productive effort for you and
Do
your
you
friends.
need me to come and get it?
Yeah, you can just
Okay.
come up here and grab that and give me some contact information and pass it back around, and we'll try to get your answers. But again, everyone needs to start these, so everyone knows at our school sites, if you have an issue at a particular school site, please talk to your principal first. And if you're not satisfied with the answer you get from there, there's a complaint procedure that escalates to Dr. Dugal, Dr. Kim, et cetera, but the principals will solve most of your problems. And if they can't, there's a large quantity of staff that will get involved and help solve the problems. Our objective is to try to solve problems and make issues go away. So we're not trying to put anything underneath the carpet or hide anything, but there is a process. Otherwise, 24,000 kids would overwhelm us if we didn't have a process. So, moving on to Glenna, followed by Peter Chun.
Is it okay that I'm talking about the same subject?
No, you go right ahead.
Okay, good evening.
You get your 2 minutes.
Good evening, President Wormers, board members, Dr. Mannon, and cabinet members. My name is Glenna, and I'm a Torrance High parent. And I'm blanking out here. I know you're busy juggling many projects, and I just wanted to bring attention to the Torrance High tennis courts. And as Coach Paul had mentioned, that there is a bond for this project, and I'm here today to ask and urge you to push for the start of it. And the primary reason why parents and I are pushing for this start is for safety. I have pictures that I'd like to leave with you later of the courts, as well as a list of the needed repairs to be done in a 9-week construction time. It's pretty worn down, and as you can see, it's worn with a lot of pitting, and so this is a huge tripping hazard for any tennis player. And I have heard that some tennis kids have had injuries from the courts, as well as a visiting North High tennis player. If the courts can't be dealt with soon, we would appreciate the district finding a substitute courts that the kids can play on. I know that if my kid gets injured on these courts, I'm going to be really upset, because the other 3 Torrance High courts are either currently being remodeled or they are already in serviceable and safe conditions. So the project, the time for the project is now. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Peter Chun, followed by Patricia Jackson.
Hi, my name is Peter Chun. I'm a concerned parent in support of Glenna with regards to the tennis courts at Torrance High School. In particular, my daughter plays on the tennis team. She plays there on a daily basis, and so do many of her fellow students. So, as a parent, you can't have but the utmost concern of the welfare of not just my child, but all the children there as well, too. At the same time, not only have I been on those tennis courts and actually played with my daughter, and actually seen almost a decrepit state of the courts itself. It's very disconcerting seeing such a disposition of the courts itself. But in addition as well, I've been traveling with my daughter to see other courts in other schools, and it's kind of stark contrast, right? I mean, in the other schools, the courts are very nice. In my daughter's courts, I see little cracks and bumps, and it's so easy for any of the kids to hurt themselves. So that is my foremost concern. So from a very simple business basis, if you look at it, right, and you look at a return on investment, if the school district invested money, you can, at the very least, mitigate some very potential extreme litigation that could result in, if some child gets hurt, right? But I would say in a positive light, the bigger factor for you guys would be, hey, you fix the courts, the kids are performing to their utmost potential. And the sadness that I see is like when I have my daughter say, hey, I don't want to try my best because I'm afraid of getting hurt. But it's not just her, many of the other students as well. But as you heard before as well, the bigger impact is other schools don't want to come and visit many times, right? Sometimes they're forced to. So I would again implore you all, we will obviously go through the proper administrative procedure, but at the same time, I'm hoping you'll also take this very deep into your hearts. Thank you very much.
Patricia Jackson, followed by Nanette Nolan.
Hi, good evening. Patricia Jackson, early childhood special education teacher, Launch Preschool. And I have some current concerns about the way money is being spent. We've been told at our site that if a janitor is out for a day to save money, we can't call a sub. I don't know if the people who've made this decision know that we have feces and food in our classroom every day. We serve snack in our classroom, and our kids, most of them are in diapers. So a janitor is kind of a necessity on our campus. 2, we've been told if our child development instructors are absent for the first day to save money, we can't call in a sub. I'm not sure if any of you have tried to gather more than 5 preschoolers together. It's like herding kittens. So now we're told we have one less adult on campus, and that's a danger to the kids. Also, my colleagues are coming in sick, so they know that there's not going to be a sub, and that's not okay either. They should be home taking care of themselves. And the third, we had a kindergarten transition meeting recently where the parents of our students moving into the receiving school was there, and we talked about how services will look when this child moves on to kindergarten. And this child with special needs is being recommended for gen ed. And the receiving school was less than enthusiastic. And then the principal mentioned the class size. It'll be hard for a kid with special needs because class size. All I could think about was, why is it this parent's problem about class size? They didn't spend money on the Family Welcome Center instead of using the money for class size reduction. They didn't spend the money on a phone system instead of class size reduction. Why is this child with special needs not being welcomed with open arms into general education when other people are spending the money? This child is being penalized for the way money is being spent. Thank you.
Thank you. Nanette Nolan, followed by Clayron Clark.
Hi, I'll be brief. I just wanted to first start by, on a note of thanks. I myself am a Torrance student. I have 2 kids, one who will be graduating this year from North High, and I'm incredibly proud of this district. I've encountered amazing teachers and amazing families and incredible students who I don't think I could hold a candle to, and I think it's thanks to the entirety of Torrance Unified School Districts, including the people here. So I just want to start by saying that. I felt like over the course of the year, there was a lot less gratitude in any direction, and it was challenging to sit quiet while I heard things that I knew that were false or incorrect, which brings me to my main point, which is out in the universe, on my little soapbox, I just wanted to encourage my fellow parents and community members that whenever we have questions, whenever we hear something insane or asinine or rude, that maybe we stop for just a moment, and rather than push on that Facebook comment or send along or retweet or whatever, that we ask questions of the people who have the answers. I'm constantly surprised by the amount of correct answers that are out there in the world, and yet still, for whatever reason, people love sensationalism and sending along things that are just negative or sometimes maybe out of context. So that's it. That's just my little soapbox moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clark, followed by Sarah Duenas.
Good evening. My name is Clayron Clark, and I am here on behalf of my daughter, who is a junior at Torrance High School across the street. I am here to appeal Torrance High School's decision to allow my daughter to graduate as class of 2018, however, not allow her to walk the stage. Since the 9th grade, my daughter, Asia Clark, has been attending high school and college at the same time. She has also been part of the swim team, and most recently, president and founder of the Torrance High School Random Act of Kindness Club. She has worked extremely hard She has over a 3.0 GPA in high school, a 4.0 GPA in college. As a junior in high school, Asia has worked so hard that she only has 2 classes left to complete her senior year while a junior. Those 2 classes are English and Government Econ. Both classes will be complete during the summer school semester, and they will be complete before August. According to what I understand from the school, she will be class of 2018 so long as they are complete before August. So she will receive a diploma in the mail with class of 2018 on it, however, not be allowed to walk the stage this coming week. I think that is sad. I think it's ridiculous. And as an individual who has excelled, I have 30 seconds, okay? As an individual who has excelled, not falling behind, I feel she is being penalized for excelling and moving too fast. So, indeed, again, she will receive a diploma in the mail as class of 2018 once those classes are complete, again, before August. However, she will not be allowed to walk the stage. And I'm asking that you change that policy. Thank you.
Sarah, followed by Sukjin Lee.
Good evening, Sarah Duenas with the North Torrance Neighborhood Alliance. I wanted to tell the young lady that was here earlier, the way that you can PDF a document is you print to PDF, and then in Adobe, you go through and you OCR all the words to make them searchable. It's very easy to do. I've been an executive assistant for 20 years. So I'm here tonight to talk about the outreach that's available to parents, and I see a lot of frustrated parents here that they just, they want to feel connected to this board and this district, and it's very frustrating. I've been attending these meetings for a year now, and I see the same faces at every meeting. It's always nice to see new faces tonight, and I hope fellow parents continue to participate and to provide input. I wanted to again address the lack of transparency and communication that's provided. A half a dozen parents came several times to these meetings and asked to be on the Hamilton 7-Eleven committee, and you did not allow that as the committee was already set. Totally fine, understand, that's the rules. But there was no outreach to say, hey, you 6 parents that are interested, we've got all these other 7-Eleven committees. Here's how you get signed up, here's how you can participate. I went on your website to search 7-Eleven committee. The only thing that comes up is the Hamilton document. If you want to join a committee for the city, there's this big program you go to. You sit there for 4 hours. You watch a video, and then you can nominate yourself for a city council or a city commission. So I don't understand why it's so hard to do that here when you have parents that want to reach out and they want to do what's right for not only the district but for the children. Thank you.
Sukjin Lee, I'm not sure I'm saying the name properly, it's hard to read here. Sukjin Lee, parent of a student at Torrance High School.
Next.
At the tennis courts. I'll put it at the back and try again. Lisa Miller, followed by Kathy Cullen.
Good evening, members of the board. I am Lisa Miller, and I am addressing you today as both a parent in the district and a second grade teacher at Riviera Elementary School. I had prepared some remarks, but since our time is limited, I'm going to cut to the chase based upon things that I've heard this evening. I have some questions about our RTI program. The proposed additional support with non-credentialed YMCA staff coverage does not seem to be helpful, as it will require the supervision of a credentialed teacher. I'm questioning the purpose of this program, which takes away another block of instructional time from all of our students in the classroom. After what was stated this evening, I'm also questioning how non-required instructional time spent with non-credentialed YMCA staff during the instructional day will be compensated for in order to meet instructional time requirements. Isn't there a requirement for students to have a credentialed teacher supervising their activities at all times during the instructional day? Thank you for your consideration of this feedback for the benefit of all of us.
Kathy Cullen, followed by Tony Cortez.
Good evening to the board and cabinet. My name is Kathy Cullen. I'm also from Riviera Elementary. Frustration. This has been an ongoing theme personally, and I've probably used this word more in the last 10 months than I have in the last 10 years. I've been teaching for 21 years, all of which have been at Riviera, and I have always felt more than privileged to have spent my entire career at TUSD. This has definitely changed. Frustration. I'm frustrated at not being heard by our administration, who I thought was supposed to have our back. I was under the impression that we were a family and made decisions together based on the good of the group and what's best for our students. We were never asked about PBIS, no new teaching time, ST Math, RTI, the calendar change, our new phone system, etc. We were told how and when these new programs and systems were going to be rolled out. Most, if not all of these, being thrust upon us at the beginning of a new year with no prior notice. I'm frustrated at the administration continuing to turn a deaf ear when meeting after meeting, we as teachers and parents united in their message of frustration. We had hundreds of teachers attend a rally earlier this year. We have teachers taking a stand at each school in whatever way they see fit. We have teachers and parents posting their frustrations on Facebook. Teachers handing out flyers that share what's going on in the district. Not all teachers can be here for every meeting or every event that takes place because they have appointments to go to because they can't go during school hours. They have papers to grade because there's no time to do it during the school day. They have assignments to create because we don't have a common curriculum to pull from. Just because every teacher in the district isn't here doesn't mean that they don't agree with what is going on. I'm frustrated at the amount of assessments that we're asked to give by the district, which doesn't include the assessments that we are trying to give in relation to our own units of study. We are asked to give 3 writing assessments at the beginning, middle, and end of the year, 3 math assessments at the beginning, middle, and end of the year, 4 math portfolio tasks given throughout the year, the CAST testing that takes 2 weeks of our teaching time with practice CAST tests to be given throughout the year, running records for each student 3 times a year or more if we feel the students need it.
Our time is up.
Okay, I will end it on a note. Frustration is the key. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Cortez, followed by Nolan Kawabata.
Kawabata, that's my student.
Oh,
I'm
thank you.
Coach Tony, I'm the coach across the street. I've been playing tennis 40 years, teaching 20. I teach 15 of the schools in the South Bay. I have a tennis club that I'm the director and owner of, and these courts are unacceptable. Absolutely not unacceptable. I'm going to be as transparent as I can be. This is worse than the parking lot. And I'm trying to inspire these kids to work their hardest. Every single day, someone gets hurt. And I've talked to my AD, Tachibana. I've talked to my principal who left because he knew what I was coming for. And I was hired to do 3 things: to teach, to inspire, and to protect. And, you know, this is unacceptable. We need to be prioritized to be on top of the list. Let's get these courts fixed. I called the last 2 coaches. They said they were promised to be first. I don't know who's in charge of this whole thing. I just really have a passion for these kids. And like I said, you know what? People drop off. There's no benches to sit on. And people drop off their their computer chairs, their TV stands, and it says free. And the community is donating their used furniture so we can sit on it. I asked the AD, we need new benches because my kids can't sit on the floors that are up to 100 degrees at some points. And he says, okay, I'll get you benches. He brings over the old benches from the football with termites in them, and they get new benches. Now, this is unacceptable because the greatest kids I teach, I'm telling you, I inspire them to have confidence, to believe in themselves, and to do better in life. I've seen it year after year after year. My sister works for the city of Torrance, and she said, you know what, Tony? if you can teach any school, choose Torrance High, and I did. I've been offered so many opportunities to teach at schools. I waited for this one because it's the most beautiful. My wife is like, that's Beverly Hills 90210. I said, that's right, honey. Your husband teaches there. He coaches there, and I continue to coach there because I believe in the process. I trust the process. Let's boost it up. Let's get these guys the course they deserve. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Nolan, followed by Deb to Bush.
Hello, my name is Nolan Kawabata. I'm one of the captains of the Torrance High tennis team. I've been playing for 3 years, and I just want to speak from my personal experience. The courts, they're really not safe to play on. It's very uncomfortable to play on them, and yeah, it's just not a great environment to be in. And I myself have I have rolled my ankles and sprained them like running around the courts and just trying to play tennis. So, thank you.
Thank you. Deb to Bush, followed by Garrick Fong.
I already spoke. I spoke because it was presented in the LCAP. I had it presented for this part of the meeting since it was in the LCAP, I addressed it then.
Okay, thank you. Garrick Fong, followed by Leonard Razoud? Leonard Razoud, whatever. Yeah, Garrick Fong.
Hello, my name is Garrick Fong. I attend North High School. I'm a junior and I've been playing tennis for 3 years. And I heavily agree with everybody else that has spoken on the Torrance High tennis courts that they definitely need to be fixed. I know I've injured myself. I've tripped myself while I'm playing. Many of my other teammates have tripped themselves while playing, which affects our matches. Our varsity many of our varsity players have injured themselves, including one of our varsity members has actually really hurt his foot from getting stuck in the fence when going for a ball, and it really affected his play. And I heavily agree. I mean, the coaching staff on Torrance High's tennis team and the team members themselves are really great people, and they really deserve brand new courts. Thank you.
Leonard?
Good evening, board members. My name is
Followed
Leonard.
by Tina Wood, I'm sorry. Pardon me.
My name is Leonard Rousseau. I just want to continue what everyone's been saying about the tennis courts. I went out and inspected them on the way before the meeting here, and it appears that some of it has been resurfaced years ago because you can see it's already spalling away and creating, safety hazards all over. There's a pothole in between the courts that's roughly 4 inches deep, which could easily cause one of these kids to break their ankles. I played tennis in high school, and the condition of that court, I could see balls just veering off, and it's unfair to the kids. They're out here competing, and you're taking away those winning shots or the opportunity to have a good defense when that ball can just veer in any directions. There's cracks in the court where weeds are growing out of it, and some of those weeds were 3 or 4 inches high and big and bushy, which would stop a ball dead in its tracks. That's pretty much all I have. Thank you.
Tina Wood, followed by Janice Hahn.
Good evening, School Board, President Wardmers, and Cabinet. My name is Tina Wood, and I'm a teacher at Riviera Elementary School. School Board members, we have 2 requests for you. First, please ask the tough questions when the district is asking you to approve spending on new and existing programs, personnel, software, and equipment. Please ask how much of that money will directly affect student instruction and learning. It is your job to make sure our district is spending money wisely and that all expenditures be in the best interests of all TUSD students. We ask you to please listen to the teachers, the experts in the classroom, when we tell you that there are programs and mandates put forth by the administration that are not working. Too much money is being spent on programs such as RTI that do not impact all student learning. Second, please encourage the district to fairly settle the current negotiation process, which has dragged on for far too long. So in conclusion, we ask you to critically evaluate spending in this district and say no to ineffective, unnecessary spending, and to also fairly settle our contract. Please don't forget that the main business of this district is educating students. Thank you.
Janice Han, followed by Sukjin Lee. I'll try that one more time, but Janice Han. Moving on to Sukjin Lee. And lastly, Sandy Hutchinson. Last call. Okay. Someone's coming?
Yep, we're coming.
I figured you were here.
Yes, I'm here again. I'm Mr. Wormer's School Board and Cabinet. Sandy Hutchinson, Seaside Elementary. We stand before the school board today because we are disappointed in the district's priorities and actions during the TUSD negotiations with TTA throughout this school year. We believe that the school district's job is to educate students. The district's most valuable asset should be its teachers, who are with the students each and every day, not the administration, programs, and training. Elementary school is unique in that it sets the foundation for higher education. Offer us a fair contract and settlement so we can get back to our classrooms and teach our students. We teach our students that they are valued and important despite the district's implementation of RTI data collection because we want our students to be successful. We do our best to teach all students despite the lack of aides, intervention teachers, and science books because we want our students to be successful. We teach our students despite being asked to implement RTI, PLC, ST Math, RAS Kids, PBIS, F&P, portfolio tasks, and have time-consuming achievement reports, which many of our staff members are working on tonight, because we want our students to be successful. We care and will help our students stay cool through the heat of the summer, despite the proposed 2019-20 calendar being asked to trade our cool June weather for August heat, because we want our students to be successful. We will vote during the fall election for school board members, despite our lack of faith in this administration, because we want our students to be successful. Finally, please support our students by supporting us. Put teachers before administration and programs. Treat TUSD teachers like professionals and your most valuable assets. Our Torrance students deserve the best, and so do their highly qualified teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Being as I'm thorough, I'll try one more time. Janice Han and Sukjin Lee. And we'll move on. We are now on discussion action items. Instructions to the public. Speakers wishing to address the board on agenda topics are permitted 3 minutes per topic. Total time granted for the public input should be limited to 30 minutes per topic. The board policies require the public presentation to the board comply with certain procedures, including items 2 through 4 listed in oral communications. 11.2, Los Angeles County School Trustees Association, election slate single candidates. Who do I call on that? Mark.
This is Mark.
Mark.
That was news to him.
Yeah, I could tell. Surprise!
I don't really have much to say, so I apologize.
You need to turn your mic.
Maybe he doesn't.
I really don't have much to say on that one. I can't help you guys.
Okay.
All right.
Moving to 11.3, approval of proposed board policy updates.
Excuse me, one procedural question. Are we then on item 11.2, are we tabling item 11.2?
Sure.
Isn't it a vote we need to make?
I think you do.
Well, and they're all uncontested, right?
Okay, I'll make a motion
Yeah.
to approve the slate.
To vote the slate. I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Wormers.
Thank you, Dr. Manning. Moving on to 11.3, approval of proposed board policy updates, May 2018 revisions.
Make a motion to approve the proposed board policies update May 18th revisions, first reading, and to waive second reading.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We've now reached the consent agenda.
I will make a motion to approve all consent items.
Stand by, Mr. Lee. We need to do it in sections because a couple things have got to be pulled. So let's start with general functions consent. I know that 3.5, 13.5.
President Wormers, we're requesting that item 13.5 be pulled from consent for a consideration modification on the contract.
Okay. Do I have an approval for all other except 13.5 and
So
general
moved.
function consent?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. 13.5, Dr. Manning.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are suggesting that in the agreement that under Section 9C, which involves the annual fee to SoCal Rock, be deleted, and therefore the board would approve the agreement with the deletion of Section 9C. That will be taken up by the SoCal Rock Board through our representative, Mr. Wormers.
And so everyone knows I support this. Dr. Mann and I have talked about it. It is part of the change that gets us down to $25 for the first week of registration as opposed to $1,234 for the first week of registration. So we're moving in the right direction, just steady by jerks, not very fast, but we're moving in the right direction. So all those in favor?
Oh, wait.
Okay, yes, Mrs. Reagan.
So, actually, I was thinking about this. I had read this with interest because, as you know, I was the previous SoCal Rock, and there's not much of a difference between this agreement and the last, aside from that $25 cancellation. That's
that
the
is-
single
that is it.
additional piece that we were supposed to be seeing. Okay, so I understand what you're saying, Dr. Mann, is just delete that piece. Is it worthwhile passing any of this? I mean, if we're not agreeing to that piece, that seems like an integral piece of the agreement.
No, we're
Thank you,
not
Mrs. Reagan.
forward.
One comment on that. We are following suit with two other members of the JPA, taking this action, which then puts it back to the SoCal Rock Board to deal with the annual fee. So that is our suggestion.
Okay, so more or less in solidarity with other districts saying that
That is
they're
correct.
not appreciative of the funding
That is correct.
that's identified here. Okay.
It's as I will explain when we talk orals about my SoCal Rock meeting, at one time, well, I'll do it now. At one time, I had hoped to have a huge sweeping change to the JPA, and it caused vapor lock with a couple of the board members. They just simply could not get their head around the idea that we need to make one huge change to the JPA. So now I've stepped back a little bit and decided I'm going to do this in little teeny tiny bites over the next 23 years, if that's the way I got to do it. So I'll be persistent and do what we can to make changes and improve our position with the JPA and the SoCal Rock.
So one other comment, just I remember when we did the last revision, there were comments from the SoCal Rock Board that if there was not approval from a given district within the JPA, that would mean that they were not wishing to be any longer part of the JPA for SoCal Rock,
However, we are approving the agreement,
aside from
aside
that
from
integral
9C. Mhm.
funding piece.
Right, and they can't, what they can do is override our vote. If you read through the JPA, if they get 2/3, they can override a particular district's vote, but they cannot kick us out of the JPA. No one has the authority to do that. As long as we have students enrolled, we're part of the JPA, so.
But if we are part of the JPA, that's also implying that we're agreeing with whatever those 2/3 people, or 2/3 school districts, I should say, are dictating to us. So we will be privy to whatever agreement.
Correct.
If there is an override. Okay.
Mr. Wormers, just a follow-up to that, I just thought about this. You've got two large board members, right?
Correct.
So that means 2 board members with no affiliation to anything.
They answer to no one except, and they don't even answer, the way the JPA is written, they don't even answer to the SoCal Rock Board. There's no way to remove them. And as I pointed out, if one of them goes sideways, we can't remove them.
Who, you gotta be able to remove them.
It's not written in the contract.
So it's forever, they're just
Well,
appointed
they
for
do
life?
4-year terms, and they don't answer to a school board. Like, if you guys decide I'm not doing a good job, you can say, Mike, you're no longer the SoCal Rock rep. Boom, 3 votes and I'm out the door. If I don't do a good job overall, the voters can throw me out. They have neither of those checks and balances. And I'm pushing as hard as...
And they can override, let's say in this case, when we don't want it, they could be part of the override, yet they're accountable to no one.
And I'm trying, my first...
special.
Yeah, very special. My first push was to try to remove them. That's not being very successful, so my next step is to try to limit their power. I'd like to see to it they can't hold a position of office. I'd like to see to it they can't vote on an override. I'd like to see lots of different pieces. And we're going to do this, like I said, I'd hope for one sweeping change in the JPA that made
That won't
sense.
happen.
But that's not going to happen.
Okay, good, thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor of the change on 13.5?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now, Mr. Lee, we can do 14 through 18, because I want to pull some stuff off.
Did we approve the other ones?
Yes.
Yes. Make a motion to approve 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. I can do 19 and pull off 19.3.
19.3 is one. I'd like to also pull 19.5 and 19.678, 1913, 1914, and 1915.
Well, here, I'll just do 18,
Okay.
just through 18.
14 through 18, do I have a second?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's do 19 one at a time.
Make a motion to approve 19.1, 19.2.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 19.3, do I have a motion?
That's been
That's the one
removed,
that he removed.
You
so we're
removed
not going to vote on that one.
No, we removed the bid package.
Oh, that one's gone.
Yeah, so you need to approve it minus the bid package.
Okay, so make approval on 19.3 minus the
Bid
No.
package
previous
number
mention,
21.
Number 21.
number 21. Good.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have questions about,
We have 19.4.
I'm sorry?
Did you have a question on 19.4?
I do not.
I make a motion to approve
Second.
19.4.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
I have questions for 19.5. Mr. Stowe, this is about a road behind the auditorium. Do I need a motion first before we start to?
So
Do
moved.
you have a motion? Second?
Second?
All, and I do all in favor afterwards, sorry.
Yep.
Yes.
How much did that road cost us?
$14,059 for grind and overlay of the existing fire lane.
Okay. And that was, we corrected the existing fire lane with that road.
Yeah, it was in terrible shape, and so in order to have it be a safe path to travel for any fire personnel that needed access to site, it required some work as well as some way to help mitigate the water that gets on there on a regular basis. So that was part of the work that was done behind the new auditorium.
Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
19.6, 7, and 8, I'm kind of curious exactly what we're doing and why every change order is right around 24 grand. I just,
Must be the same
you know,
item.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Emily Kay from Balfour Beatty, Construction Management, to come up and speak to those 3 items.
First and foremost, Ms. Gay, I want to extend an apology to you. I shot you some nasty emails last week, and I was in a cranky mood, and I'm sorry you caught the brunt. You caught some of the brunt. Dr. Stowe caught most of the brunt. So I chewed on him like a pack of gum for a better part of 20 minutes, but
I appreciate it. I can tell you from 24 years in construction, I don't take a lot personally, so.
I had a friend over the weekend explain, you realize yelling at construction people, that's built into their business model. They make money when they get yelled at,
I have
so.
kind of thick skin, but I appreciate it very much.
Okay.
So to answer your question, as you know, the gyms have all sort of completed and we've done our turnover. So at the end of construction, we end up going through and vetting all of the change orders that everybody throws at us. So I do have a list of detail, and that's broken out in the front page where we sign for the change orders. The reason why these are similar is because you have exactly the same projects on 3 different sites.
Oh.
So what has happened at the 3 of them is some structural details that had to get modified. So that's why you have some slight deviations, because when you get $200,000 worth of change orders dropped on your desk and you go through and clear out, no, that's not valid, yes, this is, you're going to have some differences. So the majority of each change, I would say roughly $18,000 on each site, is pretty much exactly the same thing.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor of 19.6, 7, and 8? Aye.
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 Can we do the rest of 19?
No, we got a few more.
I got one question about, actually, I will, we can do the rest of them. I'll worry about all of them later.
Okay, make approval of 19.9 through the end of 19.5.
1.5.
1.5.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. That moves us through the bond consent. And we're now on to the board calendar information. Then revisions to administration regulation and exhibits May 20.2. Apparently, I don't know what that is, Dr. Matt.
That's in there for information only. The board does not approve administrative regulations, the board only approves policies.
Ah, okay. That's information only. Comments from members of the board. I spoke at length about Socal Rock. The next meeting, I'm not going to be able to participate in. They gave us 6 dates. I picked 3 of the dates that I was available. They picked 3 dates that I'm not available to have a meeting. So it could be the fact that
By design.
Yeah, it could be the fact I'm kind of a bozo, but we'll see.
They learn to do that.
I refuse to let go of this. I'm kind of a terrier when it comes to this kind of approach. So, any else other comments from the board? Mr. Steffen?
No, not here.
Mrs. Reagan?
Yes, actually, believe it or not, we still have some anniversary increments to recognize for classified employees this month. So these are folks who started in June 20 years ago, excuse me. They've given us years and years of service, and I want to make sure that they are recognized. It includes Lilia Kulin and Javan Larson. So thank you, folks, for your years of service and sticking with us. And even though you started in June, the end of the school year, you're still with us. So, and actually, I just wanted to make a comment that this is the time of year when we have retirements happening. And I just happened to have gone to another retirement reception just before coming here, and it just happens to be the kindergarten teacher that my own students had. And I know it was just the other day, but we've known each other a very long time. So when there's really, really long-term people like Judith Snagowski, I might as well mention her name, and she knows how much we value her, that are leaving us, it really will leave a void in our school district. But hopefully we can find other folks that will step up and serve our students similarly. So we have a bunch of folks going, and more power to you. Enjoy your retirement and all of the good times that you've earned over the years. And thank you so much for your service and your caring and respect that you've given to our kids. And that's it.
Thank you. Mrs. Deutsch?
No comment.
Mr. Lee?
Yeah, June 4th, which is an important day in my life, but also it was the Monday that we opened up the West High Auditorium. And I don't know how long I've been a school board member, over 10 years. And I got involved because I was cranky that we couldn't pass a school bond. So Dr. Manna can tell you someday how cranky, but anyway.
He was cranky.
But we passed a few of them, and, you know, every bond has the cool stuff and then kind of the windows and other stuff that is just as important, but maybe not as cool. So the first round was J.H. Hall School and all of that went with that. And actually, J.H. Hall School begat a big chunk of the Y and Z bonds, which was an auditorium. Things were coming in under budget in those days. The gym. So, we, over the last year, have been able to see that the first few gyms get done, and they're really impressive. And then a couple of months ago, we got to see the pool. That was super impressive. And quite honestly, the one thing that I was I wonder what this is going to look like is the auditorium. And I was pleased. I mean, it isn't the Amundsen Theater, but it is a very, very, very functional high school 500-seat auditorium that the community can be proud of. And just so you know, if you're in North Torrance, you're going to get one just like it. And if you're in South Torrance, you're going to get one just like it. And Torrance High just has one that's bigger and older. But it's just kind of cool to see this stuff come online. We're getting kind of the end of all of this, so probably closes the book on new stuff to look at, even though we'll see the continuations of all this stuff. I just wanted to, if anybody's out in the community and, there's something going on at one of those auditoriums, peek in, you'll be pretty impressed with where your money's going. Thank you.
Mr. Wormers, Mr. Lee had also asked me about the Aquatic Center. We do have two renters now at the Aquatic Center. Those are Swim Torrance and Beach City Swimming. There will, and I'm sure Mr. Williams is correct, there are other organizations and associations which are going to be also looking at renting the facility. When I just happened to stop by on a Saturday, I was just totally blown away by Beach City Swimming in terms of how many kids belong to that association, the number of kids, the number of parents that were there, and you know how large the place is. Believe me, it was full with kids of all different ages out there. So they are moving along with that. Mr. Williams is, and I'm sure as we move on through the years, we're going to see additional renters want to use our space over there.
Very good. That's good to hear that. I would like to, we don't brag enough, and I'd like to have Mr. Mara, keep it short, he has a tendency to blather, brag about the Smarty tools. The fact he sent me a picture of a purchase order, purchase order 19-00001-M, for a blanket purchase order for supplies for human resources. The reason this is exciting is we used to be on something called GEMS, and GEMS is older than, I don't want to guess, but it might be older than you. Might be older than you. That's pretty old. But I want to give Mr. Mara a chance to brag about, you told me to make certain to get credit to purchasing and accounting departments, because they're the ones who did a lot of the heavy lifting. But
yeah, so GEMS has been around a while, and it no longer has support. So we pay a license fee, but you can't call them and ask for help. So it's so old, you have to run it on Internet Explorer version 7, so it wasn't adaptable to any new web browser. So we put in a brand new system, and most of the work was done by purchasing and accounting, and it's a new finance system. And really, this is in preparation for what LA County Office of Education is doing. We're part of Wave 3 for the BEST system. They're completely overhauling they're calling it human management and finance system on their end. So we needed a system that would be compatible with the SACS account code structure that the county runs, and GEMS. We can't get there from where we stood last week. So.
Very good. Again, thank you. It's a, as I've repeatedly said, the most important thing we do in this organization is educate a kid in a classroom. A teacher in front of students is the most important thing, but it's not the only thing. So I think we need to brag about some of the other things we do, and this is one of them. So, I would like a motion for adjournment in memoriam of retired teacher John Thomas Kobe, in memoriam of John Thomas Kobe. Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. 9:30.